How you doing, YouTube? This is Chris Prophy, Musically Obsessed, and I want to talk about a favorite band of mine, the Moody Blues, and I want to talk about two of my favorite albums by them. Now, I got into the Moody Blues in the early 80s, and I think what attracted me to the Moody Blues was their cover art at first, because, I had never heard their music, but I was drawn to the cover art, and many of the Moody Blues album covers are very, very interesting to look at. There's a lot going on. You can put the record on and study that album cover, and keep studying it even as after the music is over, because it's that interesting to look at. So I'm going to talk to you about two of my favorite Moody Blues albums. I love all the Moody Blues music, but these are the two albums that grabbed me from first listen. And I think I'm still drawn to them because they're two of the first albums that I had really ever gotten into by the Moody Blues. So let me show you here. The first album is On the Threshold of a Dream. And this came out in 1969. And, again, just take a look at that cover art. This is the back cover. And then inside, you have some band photos. The Moody's looking pretty cool there. And then inside my album, I have the original inner sleeve, which is pretty cool. This is on the... I'm not sure how you pronounce it, the Durham or Durham label. I'm sure it's probably Durham, but this is what the vinyl looks like. I'm going to keep it in the sleeve. Okay. So let me talk a little bit about the songs, because like I said, the Moody Blues are not just about their cover art. Their music is phenomenal. I believe they were probably one of the first bands to ever mix classical music into their rock sound. And nowadays you have a lot of bands doing that. You have Metallica playing with a symphony, and a lot of other bands pairing their music with symphonies and orchestras. And I really feel like the Moody Blues were one of the first to do that. What separates the Moody Blues too is that all five members were multi-instrumentalists. They played a lot of different instruments. You had Justin Hayward on guitar and vocals, John Lodge on bass, Ray Thomas on harmonica, flute, oboe, and a whole bunch of other instruments, Graham Edge on drums, and Mike Pinder on organ. And that was the lineup for both of these albums. But as I said, they're not just confined to those instruments. These guys played a variety of different instruments. On the Threshold of a Dream, I really feel that it's a concept album. And again, probably, one of the earlier or earliest concept albums that there was out there. I know that Frank Sinatra had done some concept albums in the wee small hours and albums like this. But as far as a rock, classical, proggy sort of, concept record, the Moody Blues were some of the first artists to do that. And on here, it starts with In the Beginning, which is a narration. A lot of Moody Blues albums had narration and poems on them. Lovely to See You, sung by Justin Hayward, beautiful song. Dear Diary, which is a Ray Thomas composition. That is really, it literally is a diary entry set to music. It's very cool. Send Me No Wine, I love that, by John Lodge. It's got a country vibe to it. It's a really cool song. To Share Our Love, another John Lodge song. That's a real rock and upbeat type tune. And then So Deep Within You by Mike Pinder. That's got a real, I was just listening to it before, it's got a cool groove to it. And that ends the original side one. And then side two opens up with Never Comes the Day, Justin Hayward. Lazy Day. Are You Sitting Comfortably, which is a beautiful song by Justin Hayward. The Dream, which is another narration, continuing with that concept. And then you have the ending, which is 3 songs that go together. You Have You Heard, Part 1, The Voyage, which is an instrumental, and then Have You Heard, Part 2. And those are all by Mike Pinder and sung by Mike Pinder as well. And it's just a great way to end the album and sort of reiterate that concept. And I really feel like on this album, it's really up to the listener, that concept. Obviously there is that dream state that we're talking about. On the cover, it looks like you've got, an ear here, an eye. It's sort of like some electrical equipment on here. It just it's a cool setting for this music. And I really feel like it leaves the listener to kind of draw their own conclusion and their own concept to this record. So again, one of my favorites by them. And the other favorite by the Moody Blues of mine is an album that came out in 1970. And it's A Question, A Balance. And if you thought Threshold was a great cover, just take a gander at that. There's so much going on there. You could just be staring at that album cover forever. This is the back cover. And again, this is why we all love vinyl. This is just part of the reason. You just get the beautiful artwork. And this has the original inner sleeve in it, which is pretty cool. And this is on the Threshold label. And I'll show you what that looks like. The white Threshold label. And let me talk a little bit about the songs. Well, the first song is Question, and that is just classic Moody Blues. Justin Hayward. How Is It We Are Here? Great groove to that song. And The Tide Rushes In, beautiful. Don't You Feel Small? And the last song on side 1, The Tortoise and the Hare, which is a John Lodge composition. On side 2, it opens up with It's Up to You. Minstrel Song. Dawning is the Day, another Justin Hayward song. Melancholy Man. Melancholy Man is probably my favorite song on side 2. That's a Pinder composition. And then it ends with The Balance, which is a narration. So again, the music, the arrangements of the song, the vocals, the fact that all the Moody Blues contribute vocally, and they're multi-instrumentalists, the songwriting, everything is very, very, very strong. And I know, talking about the Moody Blues, I know a lot of people like the Moody Blues, but you don't really hear them come up in discussions of like greatest bands of the 60s and 70s. And we know that the Moody Blues continued into the 80s as well, but I really feel like the Moody Blues should be talked about more. I really feel like they influenced a lot of different genres of music. Like I said, they brought the classical in. I really feel like they should be brought up more in discussions of, greatest bands of all time. And, they have a lot of other great albums. Every Good Boy Deserves Favor, To Our Children's Children's Children, even some of the 80s albums like Long Distance Voyager and The Present. Great albums. So, those are 2 of my favorites. And maybe I'll come around to reviewing some more of the other Moody Blues albums in the future. But thank you for watching.